Well, Housing New Zealand says tenants kicked out of their homes over flawed meth testing guidelines may have their costs repaid. The boss of the country's largest landlord fronted up for the first time today since a report by the government's top scientists last week found meth residue posed no risk to health at all. That's seen hundreds of tenants needlessly evicted by Housing New Zealand and more than $100 million of taxpayers' money spent on unnecessary decontamination. Catherine Hutton reports.
Housing New Zealand has repeatedly refused to comment since Sir Peter Gluckman's report on meth testing was released more than a week ago. Today, its Chief Executive Andrew Mackenzie faced the media for the first time.
We certainly apologise to all those people who've had their lives disrupted as we've shifted them out of their homes.
He says tenants kicked out of their homes because of the tests may be repaid the costs they incurred due to their evictions.
In the last 3 years, about 300 people have been evicted from our homes where the methamphetamine was a factor in that eviction. Many of those people were then rehoused, but some of them weren't.
And how many people have been blacklisted from your homes?
So I could not tell you the precise number.
The Drug Foundation's Chief Executive Ross Bell questions how accurate that figure is and says people need to remember that's 300 households rather than individuals.
It was the practice of Housing New Zealand to put on the street, to evict from their homes people who were likely to have issues around drug use and other health issues. And this is the New Zealand social housing landlord of last resort, and they were destroying the lives of very vulnerable New Zealanders.
Ross Bell questions how the government will now compensate those vulnerable people, given that many don't have a lot of resources to have their voices heard.
This is not a group of people who have some kind of union or some kind of organisation over them who can do this on their behalf. The property investors who have been harmed have their own body. The insurance industry have their own council. But there isn't a single voice, there isn't a single organisation here who is able to act on behalf of those very vulnerable people and to seek redress for them.
The government has now asked Housing New Zealand for a report on the issue, but documents seen by RNZ suggest the enormity of the task Housing New Zealand faces. It took its first case involving methamphetamine to the Tenancy Tribunal in mid-2010, yet it didn't start recording the number of meth applications it had before the tribunal until 6 years later. And not all evictions went to the tribunal. In the year to the end of June 2016, the agency received reports of meth in 1,275 properties. But the coordinator of the Tenants Protection Association Auckland, Angela Maynard, says paying compensation to those who were kicked out because of meth isn't impossible.
That a lot of those people will still be in the system. Some of them will be beneficiaries, so they'll be able to track them through WINS and AMSD. So I'm sure if they want to, they can track them. There's also, neighbours they can ask. People will know where other people are. It's not that hard. This is a country with a small population.
But Ross Bell says that's assuming that the government has a data system that allows them to push a button and a list appears. He warns people could fall through the cracks and they don't have the resources to champion their cause. For Checkpoint, Catherine Hutton.
And Housing New Zealand says in a statement it will take 6 weeks to complete its report. It says part of the work will involve checking various databases. One of these may be held by another government agency.